after National Indigenous Peoples Day. It's a really good time to remind ourselves that land acknowledgement is a covenant. It reminds us of our duty and responsibilities and keeps us accountable in the world and our work towards justice for all Indigenous peoples. The Living Room Community Art Studio acknowledges the lands and people of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation. The land on which our studio home is situated are covered under the William Treaties and the traditional territories of the Mississaugas, a branch of the Greater Anishinaabe Nation, including Algonquin, Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi. These lands are home to a number of Indigenous nations, people, and fellow artists who have cared for the Turtle Island, also called North America, from before the arrival of settler peoples until this day. As an organization that was founded by people of predominantly white settler origin, it's important that we recognize that the history of these lands has been corrupted by unjust processes of colonization and white supremacy. We commit to unsettling these practices within ourselves and our community whenever possible in order to create opportunities for creative dialogue, growth, healing, and reconciliation. And we humbly invite you to do the same. There will always be more to learn and ways we can anticipate the community's needs and grow forward. We can't say that we won't make mistakes along the way. However, we will endeavor to reflect and learn from those moments and work to do better moving forward. And moving back to the event, today we'll be hearing from Mary Krohnert, our lovely Executive Director of the Living Room, followed by MPP for Oshawa Ms. Jennifer French, and then Ms. Stephanie Ball, our OTF representative, and finally our Board Chair, Emily Bruusgaard. I'll let each of them say a quick introduction about themselves as we move through our presentation today, and I'll hand it off to Mary, our first speaker, to tell us a bit more about the event. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Wendy. That was awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Wendy, and everyone. Thank you, community, for joining us. Yeah, if you don't know me, my name is Mary Krohnert. I'm Executive Director and founder of the Living Room Community Art Studio here in Oshawa. We are a Durham region-based art hive that provides opportunities for people from all walks of life to make and share art for free in service of community development and individual well-being. Normally, when we meet in a live stream like this, it's because we're creating something together. But today we're here to tell you a little bit more about this amazing funding that came our way and how it will enable us to continue to do the work we do with you and maybe even do it better than we've ever done it before. So thank you for being here. Just a reminder, I'm going to stay on at the end of the event to answer any questions you might have. And of course, once this is archived, you can always email me at the studio to learn more. So in 2022, we were awarded a $27,000 Resilient Communities Fund grant from the Ontario Trillium Foundation to help us rebuild and recover from the impacts of COVID-19, specifically to improve our organization's capacity, our financial sustainability, and operational impact. Basically, after years of successful innovative community engagement work and creative support, we were forced by the pandemic to take a breath and realized it was time to practice what we preached and actually do some self-care for the organization. That self-care took the form of funding from the Trillium Foundation that enabled us to engage consultants to help assess where the living room was at and envision how and where we wanted to move forward to. And we were thrilled to have an opportunity through this Ontario Trillium Foundation funding to work with Laridae Consulting Services on developing a strategic plan for the living room, and working with Betty G, a fundraising consultant and creative coach, to explore ways of making the work we do more financially sustainable. I cannot begin to express just how surprisingly rewarding and enjoyable these processes were. Processes that, again, I have to say, without the support of the Ontario Trillium, we would never have been able to experience. That's just the truth of it right there. So I'm not going to go into super specific detail about our plans and strategies right now, although there will be opportunities to make the details of those things available to everyone later on. What I will share is that through these processes, we've come through feeling more confident about our strengths and abilities as an organization. We have a clearer vision of where we want and need to be moving forward. And most importantly, we have a really clear understanding of how we can do that work, how we can move forward towards these goals in an authentic and compassionate way, the age and the stage of our organization. And this process, of course, involves you from all the work that we do. And you were a part of working with our consultants to help shape where we're at now. So again, I just want to say thank you to our community as well for being a part of this. Now, a really important part of this process involved reevaluating the Living Room's mission, our vision, and our values. And I suppose as I begin to wrap up this segment and pass it along to our other fabulous guests, I'd like to share where we're at with those. So without further ado, our mission: creating art with community, creating community through art. It sounds simple, but it's actually pretty profound, and it took us a while to get there. If you know me and the Living Room, you know that I'm not the most concise individual ever. No, I go on. I do. You can tell right now by looking at me, I go on. But after stripping things down and paring things away, what we realized is that's really what our mission is, at the heart of everything. And it will carry us through many changes that might come our way. Vision. The vision of the Living Room is to make the arts accessible to all and to empower the artist in everyone we work with, everywhere we go. Because now that we have a mobile Art Hive, we can connect with more communities all over, wherever we choose to go, and learn more about how we can meet your creative needs and support you in what you have to say and how you say it. Our values. This was a difficult one. If you visited our website and you've seen our list, it's basically an essay of all the things we had before. We again have stripped it down to things we consider essential to the work we do. Creativity. We believe innovation and transformation cannot occur without imagination, and that every individual's process of creative self-expression is worthy of support and acknowledgement. True. Curiosity. We believe in learning, growing, and doing better when we know better. And when we know better, we want to making and sharing art helps us better understand ourselves, one another, and the communities in which we live, work, study, and play. We're a part of this, and you're a part of this too. So we hope that what we are hearing is ringing some bells for you. And the last of our values, care. We believe in fostering safer, braver spaces in which people of all ages, all abilities, all walks of life can find a creative home place and express themselves joyfully and without fear of judgment. Judgment happens, so we can work together to explore how we don't have to be afraid of it, how we can work with it, learn from one another, and grow and have more equitable and constructive conversations about who we are as we do this job of creative humaning. So this is all part of the work we've been doing. Everything in Living Room Land, it's a work in process. And I'm really looking forward to learning more about what you think about our new mission, vision, and our values. And if there's perhaps anything we're missing, it will be a conversation that we can continue as we move forward as an organization, adapt and evolve together, because that community is alive, our organization is alive, and no doubt we are going to continue growing and changing as we move forward. But for now, I felt like that was a good place to leave it. And of course, your feedback, again, your participation in this process helped shape these things. And we believe that these statements speak for the Living Room in a more clear and concise way. And yeah, we hope you agree. And just want to thank you again for helping us get here, and thank the Ontario Trillium Foundation for providing this opportunity and for us in the first place. And that's that for now. I look forward to hearing any questions that might come up. Wendy, back to you.
Thank you so much, Mary. Honestly, every time I hear you speak and the passion behind, everything you say, and I think everyone on this call can probably agree, like you are honestly the guiding light for everything we do. And again, echoing everything you said, like we are so grateful for the Ontario Trillium Foundation for everything you've done for us since the pandemic and just in general. So really excited to now pass it on to MPP Miss Jennifer French to continue our conversation today. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Wendy, and hi, Mary, Stephanie, Emily, and everybody watching on YouTube. Mary, I appreciate the invitation. I always do. Any chance to come and spend time with the living room, wherever that is, whatever that looks like, is time well spent. And certainly I really value the opportunity to thank the Trillium Foundation. As a representative in Oshawa, I kind of feel like we're pretty fortunate, because it seems that I'd always love it to be an everyday basis, but on a consistent basis, the Trillium Foundation is investing in our community, in our neighborhoods, in our, as you put it, in our visions, in our youth, in our seniors. And so this is a wonderful opportunity, yes, to say thank you, but also to acknowledge what you have said, but from an outside perspective, Mary. For a long time since I first darkened the doors of the Living Room Community Art Studio in its, physical storefront form, it was very clear that it was not only a special place, but it was its own community. And that community took the shape of of the people who came in. If it was a quiet day because that's what people needed, if it was a loud and adventurous day because that's what people brought in through the doors, then that's what it was. Folks could find their niche, they could find their community, but they could find a real welcome. And so for the living room to have so beautifully, creatively, almost like a butterfly, transitioned into this bus form, this movable, this movable magic space, it really is quite impressive. I had the opportunity to run into Mary in the bus, not literally, but to run into the living room at the Peony Festival. And that is a special community event that has lots of artisans and community agencies there to share their wares and connect with community. And the living room was set up, and they were doing like block printing, and it was floral themed. Of course it was at the Peony Festival. But I have seen the art change no matter where it is. If it's at the Backdoor Mission, community event out front, and what they're making in terms of flags and decor, there's always a reason to approach it. People see, oh, hey, there's something that people are doing. I don't know what it is. And often that's a time when people say, oh, I don't know, so I'm not going to go. And yet it's the color and the vibrancy and the care and the heart that draws people to it, no matter where they are. To hear Mary talk about the creating art with community and creating community through art, I've seen it happen. I'm very grateful that there's investment, from the Trillium Foundation, but also that commitment from the community that's going to support it in whatever shape it takes. So this money was for, as Mary put it, self-care, but capacity and the operational impact. And so I can, I can bring a bit of testimony to the community impact. And we're very grateful for it. I think we're the better for it. But the creative humaning, I've seen it happen in real time. And it really is a special thing to have in our community. And it's fun watching people kind of, I don't know, they approach it, then they get excited, and then they are proud of themselves, and they make new friends all sitting at a community table. I was actually sitting quietly minding my own business off to the side having lunch, because it was a table space that was unoccupied. And I watched people come up, and actually, funny story, this young woman came and approached the table and said, "Hi, Mary." And Mary lit up like a neon sign, like, oh, and it was sort of a, "I've been waiting to meet you" kind of face, or like, "Oh, it's about time you showed up." And Mary, came to life, and, "Well, hello. And when was the last time that I saw you? And it's wonderful that you're joining us." And this young woman said, "Well, I haven't met you before." And we all laughed. But it was such a warm and welcome. Like, Mary was just so excited that this person approached her, and she wanted to volunteer. She had heard good things, and she knew who Mary was by reputation, or had her pointed out. And so it's that kind of magnetic connection all over the place. And I giggled because Mary was almost like a politician, kind of, "Well, hello." "Tell me your name again." "You don't know it. I've never met you." But it's a new friend waiting to happen. And that's part of the magic of the living room. So I say that to make a bit of fun of Mary, but yeah, but we see this all have a magical impact on our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, MPP, Miss Jennifer French, for joining us today. Your support for our community and what you've done for Oshawa is absolutely amazing. And we are so honored that you recognize what the Living Room has done, that you've come and participate in our events and speak to the impact we've had on the community, because it really means a lot. And just hearing your stories and hearing your passion, and I would say you're an exceptional speaker, so we're in amazing hands. Thank you so much. It was, I haven't met you before this point, but look forward to, just hearing more of you speak, and you're absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for all that you do and for joining us. And next up, we're extremely excited to introduce a guest from the Ontario Trillium Foundation. So let's give a warm welcome to Miss Stephanie Ball.
So thank you very much for the welcome. So as indicated, my name is Stephanie Ball, and I'm a member of the Ontario Trillium Foundation's local grant review team. I'm honored to join you all today to celebrate your accomplishments as a valued organization in our community, as well as to congratulate you on the Resilient Communities funding received from the Ontario Trillium Foundation. As an agency of the Government of Ontario and one of Canada's leading granting foundations, this year, the Ontario Trillium Foundation is celebrating 40 years of grant making in Ontario. Since 1982, OTF has been working to build healthy and vibrant communities across the province. With an initial budget of $15 million, OTF has grown significantly and now invests over $100 million annually into communities and organizations just like yours, $27,000 at a time. Last year, OTF invested in over 1,000 nonprofit community-led projects and partnerships. Our mission remains simple: to help build healthier, more vibrant communities across Ontario. We're really proud to support organizations like yours and know that the $27,200 Resilient Communities Fund grant to hire consultants and to purchase equipment goes a long way towards doing just that now and into the future. Before I wrap up, and I'm sure you can tell that I'm given scripted remarks to give, but I can't help but say that I love your mission, vision, and values. Just having gone through that process with another local organization, I know it's very challenging to do that and to make sure that you acknowledge and embrace and support the input from everyone. And creativity, curiosity, and care, 3 of my very favorite words ever. And the descriptions you've attached to them are just amazing, and I think are very reflective of what I've heard that you're doing. So congratulations on getting that far, because I know it can be very challenging. So before I wrap up, I want to thank your organization for choosing to work with the Ontario Trillium Foundation and for giving us the opportunity to help you continue to make positive impacts and contribute to the community. What an amazing organization. And I'm so happy to have learned a little bit more about you and about the people that are supporting you. So congratulations once again, and thank you so much for having me here today to thank us. We really appreciate the acknowledgement.
Thank you, Stephanie, for joining us and, sharing all that you've shared in the call today. It's, again, an honor to have you join us. And thank you so much for all that you and the Ontario Trillium Foundation does for the Living Room. Like, we really would not be where we are, wouldn't be able to do those values and mission updates without everything that you guys have done for us in the past year and a bit. So thank you. And I will pass it on now to Emily, our lovely board chair.
Well, I don't know how to follow all of those amazing remarks. Annie, bonjour, good morning. My name is Emily Bruusgaard, as Wendy said, and I am the chair of the Living Room Community Art Studio Board. My origin story with Mary is that we were introduced 4 years ago by former board member Ken Field, and Ken brought me to the studio when it was still a studio and introduced me to Mary, and Mary and I sat down, and Ken ended up having to leave to go home for dinner because we talked for 4 hours. And I think that origin story is common to a lot of us, that Mary has a way of pulling us in, exciting us with her vision, and making us ask, and I can attest to everybody here, how can we be of service? How can we help the living room grow? I became a board member when Ken retired and moved to Nova Scotia, and became board chair in December. I'm a little intimidated. I will admit. But this, I wanted to speak today about the process of going through this sort of renewing process of going through the strategic planning and then the fundraising planning. When the pandemic shifted us, I think as a board, as individuals on a board, we were all sort of struggling with our own work and the changes to our own jobs. Certainly as a professor, I had to move very, very quickly to online learning. And we all joined the living room to be of service, and started to wonder what is our role here. And the strategic planning process gave us this amazing sense of renewal, of vision, but also kind of reminded us why we became involved with the living room in the first place, and what it was that we're really doing, that community engagement, that the new bus kind of allowed us to go places that we hadn't been before. That the joy that the bus brings. I was at our event yesterday as a volunteer for National Indigenous Peoples Day in Pickering, and every one of the volunteers drove 2.5 hours through the closure on the 401. I mean, talk about dedication. But also the people who came by and said, oh, the bus is here. The bus is here. Like the bus as a symbol of pride, of hope, of art making through community, of community engagement, is something that I am so, so proud to be a part of. Watching people, I took lots of pictures. Watching people making art myself was, and doing it in this wonderful sense of engaging with Indigenous resurgence and resilience, was magical. It really was. And to me, that exemplifies what the living room is capable of, and our vision going forward, how to keep building those relationships. And so we are extremely grateful, and I speak on behalf of the entire board, to the Trillium Foundation for this opportunity. I think it gave us a sense of our own sense of community and what we are, each of us, and as a unit, capable of. And for me, I am so excited for the future. And so I thank you very much. And also to MPP French, I also just wanted to acknowledge how amazing you are with every time you show up for every civic event. As one of your constituents, I'm incredibly proud of that. So thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Honestly, you are an exceptional speaker, and I think you captured the entire board and what we want to say to both MPP French and Stephanie, like in perfect words. So thank you so much. I am so grateful that you are our board chair. Like, you're amazing. And to kind of wrap up the end of this call, I want to also thank everyone on this call and everyone who is watching from home. Really appreciate taking time out of your busy days and busy lives to join for this, because truly such a meaningful experience. And before I end off the call, I'm going to pass it off to Mary for any final comments.
Yes, I would just like to take a moment to say thank you again to everyone who's watching. Thank you to everyone who watches in the future. once this is archived. And thank you to our incredible guests today. And in fact, we have our secret tech help on the line. Anthony, if you could, like, if possible, to take a screen capture, just capture this beautiful group of folks here. So if Anthony, if you could just bring us all up on the screen for the folks watching at home, and then we could just snap a picture to get a nice memory of this as well. Is that possible, Anthony Granny? There we go. I know. Okay. Oh, and thank you, everyone. Now, I know that both MPP French and Stephanie, your days might be very hectic. If you would like to say goodbye, or if you have any last thoughts that you'd like to share with the community before you go, you are more than welcome. You're also more than welcome to stay if you like. There might be a few questions, but any other thoughts?
My thought is
No?
thank you very much for inviting us, Mary. It's always fun. It's a jolt of energy in the busy day. But and if we're doing origin stories, Emily, I got one too. It involved Mary with a shawl and a bird perched on her shoulder, but it was a fake bird and it just hung out with her. And I knew I was in good company. Yeah. And Wendy, if you think I can speak, the last time I saw Mary and Anthony at the Pride event in Ajax, they heard me sing. I wasn't any good, but we were reminiscing about sort of childhood positive things in a creative and artistic sense. So anyway, she brings out the creative in all of us. So pleasure to be joining you this morning.
I would humbly, gently suggest that the creativity is there. You can sing MPP French, you can sing. And you know what? It helps to have a community of creators around you to provide that safe environment in which we can take those risks. I think that's one of the things that's so great. And we co-create that together. So thank you all for being here. So I will release anyone who needs to go. Thank you, Stephanie Ball. Thank you, Ontario Trillium Foundation. Thank you, MPP French. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, board. Yes, and now there'll be some time for some questions if anyone has any. So thank you, everyone. And I'll just make some music maybe while this is happening. So I know that we may only have a few people watching right now. It's early morning, but there might be other folks later on. If you have questions and if you'd like to send them our way, you can put them in the comments, but you can also email me at info@livingroomcommunityartstudio.org. And that provides us with an opportunity to really take some time to dive in. And some of the things we've learned through this strategic planning process with both Laridae and Betty, we will have opportunities to share that in a more concrete form moving forward as well. We're still updating things on our website. As you can tell, there's lots of things. This is all very fresh for us and very exciting. But for now, I suppose, let's see. Does anyone have any questions? You can throw them in the chat. Hey, oh, wonderful. Now I'm just looking at the chat here. So forgive me if I'm a little bit behind here. Oh, lovely. We have, and you know what? What's so great about this community is we have people who are, beyond the borders of Oshawa, beyond the borders of Durham region. Other folks are doing amazing things similar to us. So Kim in Skamania, Washington is watching. Oh, lovely. Oh my goodness. No. Okay. There's lots of lovely compliments. I don't know how to handle those. Okay. Oh, and there's lots of thank you coming to the community, from the community to the Ontario Trillium Foundation as well. I think that's really important as well. Again, they are an organization that we're very lucky in Ontario to have funding opportunities, period. We're very lucky to have an organization like OTF that can take creative risks, that recognizes that innovation is necessary and it doesn't always look like what's come before. And with regards to Art Hives, that was definitely something that no one had really seen an art hive. You didn't know how to define it. And Ontario Trillium Foundation has always been willing to listen and learn about what that means and what it looks like, as long as the impact is there. And hopefully through the work we do, through the work that Art Hives do everywhere, we're able to demonstrate that impact. And that's because of you, community. Thank you for taking part. So some hellos to everyone. Let's see. And some real, oh, that's really lovely. So some love for the new mission, vision, and values. That's great. But does anyone have any other questions about what this process was like? Feel free. There's no wrong questions, no silly questions. I'll ask all of the silly questions. Wendy, Emily, you know what? If we bring you back up on the screen for a moment too with us, do you have any final thoughts or questions or things you'd like to share?
You know what? You know what the strategic planning did was really, I think, to help us really. It's funny because it helped us to narrow our vision, to feel like we had a really strong, cohesive plan. The interesting thing is how that has widened the engagement. I'm using my hands here. I do this in lectures too. If my students all know this, but it's interesting that, you know, this really cohesive vision actually widens your scope of engagement and inclusivity, and like we would never have been able to do that event in Pickering the same way that we did yesterday. And I'm personally just still singing from that. It was lovely, absolutely a beautiful day. So yeah, I am incredibly grateful for Laridae's help in guiding us through that process. As someone who's very new to strategic planning, who had never done anything like that before, they really made it easy for us. We were very fortunate to have both Laridae and Betty C working with us.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that.
I think my favorite thing about them, and then I do see we have a question coming up from Havchita, will you? The sense of my fears going into any processes like this, and maybe other art hives or other smaller arts organizations feel the same way, is that they will treat us like a giant arts organization, or they will treat us like that we like from within a corporate kind of framework. And both Laridae and Betty took time to get to know us, took time to get to know our community, and our hearts. Like they involved our hearts in this conversation. It wasn't just about money. It wasn't just about nuts and bolts decision making. And it was, what will help us feel better, feel confident, feel like purposeful as we move forward with this. And yeah, they were fantastic. I agree, Emily. Betty, sorry, Betty. Wendy, what about you?
I think I'm speechless after what you guys said. I think you both captured kind of everything we've done up to this point exceptionally well. I think I echo what Emily said in regards to kind of, working with Betty and working with Laridae. We really, like as a team, came together and reaffirmed kind of that we were all so into this and we're so passionate, and we found better ways to kind of use that passion to help the living room grow. So again, I am so grateful for everything the Ontario Trillium Foundation was able to help us with, because without their funding, without their support, we wouldn't have been able to do this. And I think that was also kind of a really cool experience for me joining onto the board, being thrown to this, because, I've seen it from the side of being a volunteer all of these years and from a person who joins all these events, but I've really seen it from the other side. In my heart, I had all these feelings about what the mission and vision and what the living room meant to me, but it was really nice to kind of join onto the board and hear everyone and what that meant for them, and also hear how the community thought about it. So honestly, this has been such a great, best way possible kind of roller coaster ride, and I'm excited for what's to come. And for everyone who's watching at home, thank you so much for taking time to watch this and for your support, because we wouldn't be everything that Mary talked about. We wouldn't be our mission, vision, and not using all of these things if it wasn't for the community. This is, we are so passionate because there's some people who engage and benefit from this. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you to everyone on this call that was on this call and those who are watching, and even those that just come to events and don't watch these, like, thank you.
We've got passion. That's what we've got. And I think it's contagious. So we continue to inspire one another and just, yeah, the community fuels us and hopefully we fuel the community. It's this wonderful creative renewal process that happens. But you know what, just to revisit some of the things we discovered in the process of strategic planning and the stakeholder interviews and surveys that happened, just in response to a question of, will you be able to get back to brick and mortar studio again? So this was a big one that came up. Some of the big things that came up that I'll just touch upon lightly here. People loved what we were doing. They love what we do. They understand some of the restrictions that we face as a smaller organization, and they understood the impact of the pandemic. We were all in that together in many ways, and respected the choices we made. But things that were missed, people miss the studio space. People do miss the drop-in brick and mortar space, and it's a part of a future goal. We don't see it being. We don't. It's not that we have the bus now. We don't need anything else. If we had an opportunity to do so in a sustainable way that didn't put staff or volunteers at risk of burnout, that if we could return to a brick and mortar space, we would love to add that back in. We do love what the mobile Art Hive allows us to do, though. And right now, as a project, it's a little more sustainable. It allows us to connect with more people, expand our community, which also expands our opportunities from the viewpoint of an organization. But yeah, no, we have that in mind, that idea of the brick and mortar creative home place. But when that does happen, it will require the support and partnership, and will require collaboration, we feel, from another or more than one organizations or institutions that can help us with that, because the work we do is so impactful. And it requires a kind of intimacy that only art hives really, really have. We would need the support to do that. We can't do it alone unless there's someone out there. I mean, is there anyone watching, any millionaires watching that want to, no? But that's the idea. Eventually, yeah, if that opportunity comes up, we would love to. And we understand the place that held in everyone's heart, especially in Oshawa. But for now, the focus will be on placemaking wherever we go, meeting people to connect and explore how we can co-create environments in which we can do the work that we do. And hopefully, some of the work we do this summer will lead us to some more sustainable pop-up brick and mortar spaces, maybe, with schools, with neighborhood associations. We're exploring all of those things. Because consistency of communication was something, consistency of engagement, I think, is something that is missing now that we're hopping around a bit more. And of course, that drop-in space that people really, really connected with. So we hear you on that front, everyone. We hear you, and it's not a part of our future strategic envisioning. So when we can do better, we will do better. When we know better, we'll do better. Emily, Wendy, any last thoughts before we wrap up? Nope. Well, then if there are no more questions in the live stream chat, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you for watching and participating. Thank you for future watchers. If you have any questions, remember you can email me at info@livingroomcommunityartstudio.org. But thank you again for being here. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Emily, for staying back. Thank you, Anthony Granny, for helping out with the technical stuff. And thank you, Laridae and Betty, and the Ontario Trillium Foundation for making this whole process possible. But in the meantime, everyone, I'm going to let you go to enjoy whatever part of the day you might be in. Take care, stay creative, and we'll see you again soon, okay? Thank you, everyone. Bye.